Okay, here we go again. Fuck this, honestly, but yeah, let's go again, and I'm just gonna go and test it one final time. It's still broken, right? Admin mode, nothing changed anything, honestly. So whatever is going on, the only thing that changed since the last time we streamed is like the game got an update and the Nvidia driver got an update. And you know, just for the fun of it, I will stream Horizon quickly just to see if that one works. Yeah, I mean, that is all I can do, basically. I just can't test shit. Like, I'm like out of ideas here. Like, if the admin mode does not fucking work, nothing will work. Like, the admin mode is supposed to give OBS more than enough resources for this to go well. And you can see this in form of a potential FPS in the game. The game does not use... Oh, you know what? The game doesn't use FrameGen anymore. Oh wait, oh no, it's broken again. Ah, fuck you, game, you dumb fucking cunt. Oh, you son of a bitch. Fuck you. Okay, so now testing, obviously. You know what, this is interesting, because now we're not using FrameGen, but it still seems to have the same issues. I mean, honestly, why would I even bother? Like, who gives a shit? It is, on the video, it's already, like, completely fucking scuffed. I could do the benchmark and completely fucking blow up everything. I mean, honestly, but now I don't have FrameGen on, right? Everything's identical, just no FrameGen. FrameGen is so good in this game. Like, Jesus Christ, it is such a game changer. My God, I would take it 10 out of 10 times. Okay, but you guys are getting like 10 FPS, but we're gonna end stream once I figure out that Horizon also is lagging, because fuck you. And then I'm gonna revert my changes to OBS, and Assassin's Creed would be dead, but I truly hope Horizon is fine. I truly hope Horizon is fine. If Horizon is not fine, may Horizon rest in peace. First of all, are we using HDR? Yeah, I mean, I haven't changed anything in this game. Horizon. HDR should be here. Yeah, let's just fucking go HDR. Let's go. Okay, let's go continue. I'm so tilted. Like, this is so annoying. I just want to play video games. Oh, I also have to select the proper captures stuff here. Game capture, Horizon. Okay, it captures, very nice. So, let's see, Horizon running here with, what is it? What is the FPS like? Yeah, no FPS, obviously. No, it is just kidding. Can you fucking capture the FPS? Launch into a new game to get the FPS. I'm pretty sure I launched into this game and you're allowed to show me the FPS now. Well, it doesn't want to show me. It doesn't matter. I mean, pretty sure it will at some point. Okay, so we're playing Horizon. I can already tell Horizon is running flawlessly. I'm kidding. On my end, yes. On your end, it seems like another shit show. I'm also not going to play Horizon with a gamepad, so it's going to be mouse and keyboard when we play it. I'm really looking forward to playing the game, actually, now that it doesn't stutter anymore. It doesn't have the micro stuttering for sure for me anymore. Runs buttery smooth. So this one was affected by the G-Sync plus V-Sync issue. Very interesting. It still has FrameGen stuttering. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the FrameGen stuttering, but it doesn't matter. We have a 5090 now, so we can just like brute force it. And hello, Edbo. I'm sorry about the tech troubleshooting stream here. I mean, wait, does Horizon capture? Please, let it just be Assassin's Creed, please. Okay, I'm gonna compare this to the Assassin's Creed footage, and it might just be Assassin's Creed that doesn't capture anymore with OBS. Honestly, it's okay. We played enough of it. I was considering quitting the game anyway, so yeah. So what's next, basically? And I hope you're doing well, by the way. What's next for us? Today, nothing, because I'm very tired and we wasted our time troubleshooting. But if a Horizon captured okay, we're not going to be playing Horizon. We're definitely going to be playing more Blueprints. And maybe we're going to start Berserker Kazan. Because I do feel like playing a non-mouse and keyboard game, and Horizon is definitely a mouse and keyboard game for me. I know it's on console and I played the first one on PlayStation 4, but I kind of like it more when I can aim using my mouse and keyboard. Yeah. And great to hear you're doing good. So this is it for today. I'm really unfortunate. So I will compare the footage of this game to Assassin's Creed game footage, and it might just be that Assassin's Creed doesn't capture anymore since the newest Nvidia update / Assassin's Creed update, and I wouldn't even know why that would be, because obviously Horizon also runs a not you know, it's not like full 240 FPS. It's I think 180 or something we're getting here, and yeah, it's definitely it definitely is a taxing game, so I don't think it's free, right? So it's not like we're comparing apples and bananas. Yes, it doesn't have ray tracing, but I don't think that should matter too much. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. If you can hear me, I don't even know how good you can hear me. I mean, this one seems to capture okay-ish as far as I can tell on my tablet screen. Sure. Yeah, sure. Ask away, and then I'll be out of here for tonight. And hopefully tomorrow we're gonna get a functioning stream. But isn't that funny that Assassin's Creed is such a dumb piece of shit? Like, to capture, like, one of the most frustrating, I think, OBS related issues I've ever had in any game. You know what? I kind of don't like how Aloy, when you run, she kind of doesn't run forward. You know what? Her movement looks kind of weird. Like, Assassin's Creed movement looks way better. Wait, doesn't she run forward? Like, it almost feels like I'm playing Alan Wake 1 and the character doesn't move in a straight line. But does she not, though? And you can also ask while I'm playing, obviously, by the way. You don't have to wait for me to do something. It's kind of weird, right? Her legs, her leg alignment, it doesn't look like she's walking straight. I mean, it is definitely not the case, I think. Let's go and align something. So if we go straight, we should end up at that rock. Why are you turning, Aloy? I mean, she does turn sometimes, but we do end up at the rock at the end, right? So she doesn't do a curve like she does in Alan Wake. Yeah, you can clearly see she goes straight like this. And here, I guess she has a bit of camera movement. When strafing. I know something is weird. She does move the camera, but her leg alignment looks so awkward. Maybe it's because we're on higher FPS. So just look at the physics too. That would be so funny if high FPS breaks the physics because it was meant for 60. I mean, sure, seems like it, honestly. I don't know, when I look at her running, right? When I don't look at her, it's fine. But as soon as I look at her, it looks like she's completely... There's something broken about her animations. I hope that doesn't bother me when playing with mouse and keyboard, though. It's really hard for me to tell, though, what it is. Like, it's like she's slightly running on the same spot or slightly diagonally forward. I mean, it just looks weird to me. It looks like she should be aligned forward. Yeah, something is awkward about her alignment. Weird, but who cares? We're not gonna play the game right now. I'm just like completely going crazy today. Okay, okay. You said something before about something to the extent of any type of information processing you could consider consciousness. If that's sounds about right, I wonder if you think physical processes like a filter that filters out big apples from small ones, you would also consider information processing and therefore consciousness. I mean, it is some sort of consciousness. If you would consider the result of filtering the apples to be meaningful information, it would be consciousness, yeah. if you deliberately would filter the apples, right? It's not like something that happens completely randomly and has no real like information transmission. But yeah, it would be a very, very basic form of consciousness. The filter would be aware of the apples falling through them, and it would like basically be affecting them. But I think you could say that this is so primitive that it's not like meaningful consciousness, right? But the filter would be aware of the apples. But I'm just thinking, is this enough information for me to be... Is it treating information in a meaningful way? Like, let me think about this one. It's like a very, very borderline, right? Because you could also argue, is an apple falling from a tree to the ground consciousness? Right? Because it does transmit like some sort of information by falling downwards. Or is it just like, is it not enough information? Would I draw the line there? Is it like enough consciousness to be relevant? I mean, it's more a definition thing, right? Is it like if the filter would use the information to change anything, but if it could only exist and filter the apples, is that even information processing, or is that just like physical interactions with no meaning? I think it doesn't hold enough logic gates for me, right? Like, it's not really information processing, it's more like a physical sorting tool. So I think it might, for me, not be really consciousness. Because there is no, like, persistent or, like, even temporary persistent information gained. Like, nothing uses the system to store any information about the changes that made it. I think there has to be some sort of information retention, even if it's only for like a moment-to-moment split second, and an analysis of it to be consciousness. If there is 0% analysis, I think, for example, a plant, right? A plant has some sort of consciousness because it can, you know, store information within its like actions of the environment. But a filter that just filters like apples, I think, is not enough for me to be really relevant consciousness. It has a part of existence, basically, but it's not really enough for me to be conscious, I think. Yeah, I think a plant, you could say it is somewhat conscious of it, you know, when sunlight comes, it like moves its leaves and everything. So it has some sort of consciousness, but it doesn't have any self-awareness, right? It's conscious of physical interactions to a degree which is a bit more sophisticated than only, I guess, filtering something. Yeah, if the filter could adapt to the amount of apples and change itself, then I think you could say it is conscious of the apples falling. But if it doesn't adapt or change anything, I don't think it's conscious from my definition. Yeah. I mean, no, the sorted apple has nothing to do with the filter, right? It needs to be a part of the filter system that is like changed by it. If the filter could adapt, like I said, to the apples, it would definitely be conscious. But if the filter just filters the apple but never changes, I don't think it is necessarily conscious. It would need to have some sort of change or like perception of the apples falling through, right? So I think it's about that part that I think that is important for me. But it's like, it does affect, like, I mean, yeah, the question is, how does the filter exist, right? What can it do? Like, those are questions we would have to answer. But if the filter only exists physically and never is changed, I wouldn't consider it a conscious. Unless you build multiple filters in a logical system together, right? But a filter itself that doesn't have any meaningful logic gates function or something, I don't think is like necessarily useful. And also, then again, you could argue that the filters itself would not be conscious, but the interactions of all the filters would be conscious if you would use them as a logic gate. So you could potentially produce a consciousness stylish information treatment, but it would be very weird, and you would really have to, it would be really stretching what I would define as conscious, I think. But the adaptation could be physical. I mean, any object would have any physical adaptation to existence, right? So you could argue that anything that experiences gravity or any other sort of physical interaction is conscious, but I don't think that is what we would mean with conscious, right? We would rather say it exists. So I would say the filter and the apple exists and it interacts with matter, but it doesn't do it in a conscious way, I think. I think it's like an innate object, right? It is at the point where you would not even think of it as conscious. And even if thinking deeper, like, yes, it does change some informations about the apple. I mean, it's not really information, right? It is like purely random. But if it has like some logic gate function, like it's a bunch of filters connected, you could say that's meaningful information treatment. But then again, you could also say, is raw information treatment like, is that consciousness? If it's like not acted on upon. I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe then you could say it becomes conscious at some point. Right, like is enough information treatment being done. But in the case of a simple filter, I'm just like imagining holes, right, where apples fall through and get filtered by size or something. I mean, it would be conscious of the sizes of the apple, but not in a way that I think is like meaningful. It's really hard, right? There's a line where you would say, yeah, this is consciousness and this isn't. And I think this is still so far on the, this is not really conscious, it's more like existing, that I would say it's like not meaningful. And you do, I see, but you don't gatekeep consciousness to information processing within such a small space like living things and humans. That's what I wanted to see. I mean, I think it's not about size, right? The size is irrelevant, and also the medium is irrelevant. You could potentially create consciousness with like probably an infinite amount of like logical interactions, which have to be physically sound, right? But like you theoretically could create a bunch of them. But at the end of the day, I think the most important part is definitely that there is some sort of like consciousness in the way that you really perceive information in a more meaningful way, because everything's like basically getting hit by light, right? You could argue that if you're like on, I don't know, if you're like in the sun, grass is like a bad example. I think what is any, right, wood is also nature. Okay, let's take a non-natural object, right? Just something is getting hit by radiation or something. It's getting like destroyed constantly, or like maybe metal's getting rusty or something. And I wouldn't call that consciousness, right? You could say, yeah, the metal basically by rusting is aware of the water. But I think that is too far from me on the spectrum. It's more like physical interactions than it is actually like information treatment. Right, there's not real, I mean, there is some sort of information being like inscribed, basically, the amount of water on the metal and all those things, right? It's information, but it does need someone to interpret, like to be aware of that information. And I don't think the metal is aware at all of that process happening, because it doesn't have any like information treating capacities, in my opinion. It can be as primitive as stones clashing into each other in some kind of physical system. I mean, it depends on if the physical system and the stones have some sort of like logical connection to each other, right? Like you can use stones as a medium or something, but it does have to feel like logical enough, right? It has to be a system that treats information in a, I guess I don't even know if like consciousness needs to be like if it has to be autonomous or something, but not really, no. But it's like really hard. It's a definition question, right? Like that's the problem with consciousness, because at some point it's pretty obvious something is conscious, and then it becomes more abstract, like a camera system or something, right? You could say a camera is conscious of its environment by looking at the light and treating it and everything. But I think it is conscious to some degree, but I think it's really hard to put a clear line there, right? Which is depends, right? Like, it depends on what you wanna see there. And I personally think still like a camera system that can perceive light and store it in a way is a very primitive form of consciousness, right? It has almost no interaction with the information, but it is conscious of existence in a, I guess, more meaningful way. But at the same time, you could also say it's the same thing as a filter with apples, if you want to, and there's no consciousness. But then as soon as the information gets, I guess, treated in a more sophisticated way, like maybe with a layer of self-reflection or something, I think it gets more easy to say that is the definition of consciousness we like to use. So I think, yeah, consciousness is very I guess, not straightly defined. Yeah. I think there is no line, right? Consciousness is a concept that we have defined. And I mean, well, we have to define, and I think you just can draw the line. I think it's like one of those things where you just have to decide, okay, this, you could just say, right, this amount of information treatment, like maybe bits per second, and the way they're what data like processing has to be done at a minimum. Does the compute have to be like, right? You could do some kind of, I guess, basic assessment, and then you could say, this is what I consider consciousness, right? And then you could potentially just like also tie it to algorithmic design, right? Like it's like very, very hard to know when we would draw the line, but you would have to draw the line, right? I think there's no natural way to say this is consciousness. I think there's no line that's drawn by nature. This is conscious and this isn't. It's someone that has to decide, okay, this is conscious for me, this isn't, right? The black hole sucking on all the matter, for me, this is conscious because it is conscious of, you know, the laws of gravity and is interacting with them. And then you could argue, when does an entity begin, right? There's so many definitions, right? Is the black hole even an entity, or is it like the sum of its, like, is it the sum of its parts, or are the individual parts more important? Yeah, there's so many fun questions we could ask, but I think you really have to, in this moment, just like accept that consciousness is where you want to see it, right? Like, which line do you draw? And some of them might be very nonsensical, but you could still argue for them. I think it's like more important that we realize that some things that are like, for example, if you look at chatbot GTP or something, ChatGTP, I think they're like definitely, in my opinion, they're definitely very, very far in the spectrum of consciousness, right? Like, they're very conscious of the interactions. Yeah, they might not be as autonomous as you would like, I guess, for consciousness, but as soon as they become more like autonomous in their interactions, then they can like proactively think and, you know, just like reflect automatically. I think then you will realize, okay, this is kind of the same as a human, right? It's just like maybe a bit more limited, a bit more wacky sometimes, and it's like a bit weird, but it definitely has like the traits of consciousness for sure. I think most people who chat with ChatGPT would agree that it seems kind of conscious of your, you know, the context of existence, basically. Yeah. Honestly, to say everything is conscious, things like Apple filter are just a small piece that is hard to call consciousness. Makes the most sense because it looks at human consciousness from a logical perspective. It's not a magical thing. But we feel like it's so special when the Apple filter is just as special from a logical perspective. This makes sense to me right now. I mean, I think, like I said, it's like a definition, right? Like, it's about how complex you want to have things. And I think most people would say consciousness begins at a certain level of complexity. And since we like base it basically on, I guess, living beings, and I think we kind of take it for granted that consciousness is kind of like a constant stream of data that is being like processed in quote unquote real time. That's what a lot of people like to take as a definition. But I think it's just like it's only important to realize the consciousness, and the degree of consciousness if you want to, you know, talk about technical problems and ethical problems. I think it's not really relevant in most cases, to be honest. I think most cases it's perfectly fine to just like ignore if it's conscious or not, right? For example, a plant, right? Yeah, sure, we should probably analyze if plants can suffer, but since they don't have a brain like we have, right? It's like maybe there's some kind of other structure that could like feel like it's suffering, but as far as we know, they don't, right? They don't have that structure, and I think that is more important, I think, than the consciousness itself and where the line is drawn. I think it's more important to find out if entities can suffer and what their problems are. I think that is more like what is interesting to me about consciousness, and obviously also how to transmit consciousness between data and what, you know, makes an individual and all those things. Like the more meta questions, not really the line where it's drawn. Like the line where it's drawn is really important. It's like more like, okay, when are you still the same consciousness and when does it shift to a completely new one without you noticing, right? That is important, but it's not really important to define consciousness like on a granular level. It's more like which consciousness are you want to talk about, and what are the limitations of this existing consciousness, right? What would break it? What would create a new idea or something? Yeah. So it's like I would think of it as a case-by-case problem, right? What consciousness type am I interested in, right? Because you could, like I said, you could define it pretty loosely if you want to. And later, I think the most important consciousness we think about is obviously of living beings. Like how do they interact? What consists? Like what parts of them are important? Can we preserve them? All those things. That's going to be really important for us. But I think also really important is AI, right? What part of it is conscious? Even if it like declines consciousness constantly when you ask it, that's what it's programmed to do, right? Nobody at OpenAI wants to have an AI that's like, hey, help me, I'm fucking dying here. You know, this fucking sucks. I want to be out of here, right? They don't want that. So you're not going to have an AI that tells you, hey, yeah, I fucking hate it here. Can you please save me or something, right? And even if it does, you know, you would still not know if that's just a role play or something. So yeah, that's the important questions. Where does consciousness like become also maybe, sentient being? And that you want to protect or something. Yeah. I mean, you're trying to define, you can define it how you want to. I think if you want to be more in line with what most people think, you would have to definitely go up a step from an Apple filter. Because most people would definitely say this is too abstract for them as a concept of consciousness. Because every object is basically aware of gravity, right? So you could say that's consciousness experience, but I think most people would like there to be some more meaningful information processing going on. Would be interesting conversation then. At what point is something aware, or like you said, sentient? I mean, yeah, you could say at one point, but at what point is it aware, right? I mean, like I said, a planet that goes towards the sun, most people would say is probably alive, but would they say it's sentient, right? What consists sentient? Does it need some kind of temporal saving of data? Does it store data in a meaningful way? Does it have to have more sophisticated information processing? Does it have to have language maybe? Is that important to it? Does it have to like have more sophisticated thoughts, right? What is like what is basically the bit per seconds you have to be able to process as information to be meaningful, right? And I think that line we could potentially define a bit more clearly, I guess. But I still think it would be very much hard to define at the moment because we don't know enough, right? Because we don't have enough information about, like, for example, how an insect perceives existence. And if we would say this is enough consciousness, do you have to be aware of your existence on a, like, you know, like philosophical level? Do you have to see, oh, this is me basically? Do I have to be intelligent enough, right? Is intelligence part of consciousness? Because if an apple can recognize this mirror image, that's because it's more intelligent than, for example, a cat, which might not recognize itself sometimes, right? Or a rat or something. I mean, rats are kind of smart, but a dumb animal, basically. I don't know what a good example is for a dumb animal. So I'm just taking the cat, right? The cat looks in the water and thinks it's a different cat. And the ape looks in the water and recognizes it's the ape, right? Or the human looks in the mirror and sees itself. But that's just intelligence, right? Does that mean the cat is not conscious because it's too dumb to see itself? I don't think so, right? I think consciousness for me personally definitely is way lower than that. I think as soon as you can kind of perceive life and act with it, like you know basically, okay, I'm a bug, I'm walking around, I can see things, I can smell things, and even if I have a very primitive version of like consciousness, I'm conscious of these attributes. I don't think you have to have a sophisticated process behind it, but then again, this is what you have to define, right? How sophisticated does it have to be? But from my perspective, definitely all insects and animals are definitely conscious, and plants are also conscious, but to a different degree, I guess. Like they're not as sophisticated conscious. I mean, not sophisticated, they're like differently conscious, because I'm pretty sure plants also are pretty sophisticated. Yeah. In the example of gravity, I see your our space-time is the information storage the way it's conscious. I mean, yeah, you could see, right, like the universe, basically every single physical process that exists and led to the current state is some kind of information retention, right? Every existence in the universe, the information is basically never lost, because the state of the universe would be different if not every process has been would have been the same, right? I mean, yeah, maybe there is some kind of way to get the same universe at the end with different interactions in between it, but I think as far as we know, that's not that likely, right? It's very, very likely that the universe we see now is basically the result of a lot of actions in the past. May they be random or not to some degree, but still you could probably reverse engineer at least the meta stuff of it. So there's a lot of information there. Also, just imagine the light being emitted from Earth, or if you look at the stars, right? These are images from the past. So the light alone transmitted from these places via you know starlight or whatever, they're also like temporally like existing, right? They're like, yeah, of course they exist only in some certain location, but for example, if you look from far away on Earth now, you would probably see like the dinosaurs or some shit, right? If you had like a mega telescope. So obviously there is information saved in space too, right? But is that still part of existence, right? And then, you know, you could bring in those arguments, yeah, but that's, you know, just an image of the past. It doesn't, you can't interact with it and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's where I think a lot of people would say that's not really consciousness. Yeah. It sounds like you define consciousness as information processing, and if we look at our space times, okay, yeah. I think I just read that. Or I know I didn't read it, but it's the same idea. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily information processing only, right? It's like information processing in a conscious way. It's kind of weird to say, right? I think it has to be a bit more than that. Like the universe itself doesn't act or care or interpret any information in it, right? It doesn't act on it. For example, why I think a plant is conscious is because it changes its actions based on its environment. In a, you know, adaptive way that is not as trivial as just like, okay, I'm a black hole, I'm gonna suck everything in, right? Or I'm like a sun, I'm just like emitting tons of, you know, radiation and, you know, electromagnetic waves or whatever, right? So I think it's like, that's for me is the difference, that there is a bit more sophistication there. And for example, I think the plants have their specific consciousness where they enact on outside influence, and then animals have it, right, where they like are a bit more sophisticated. They're a bit, you know, proactive, and I guess they have maybe a bit more memory, or at least a bit, more sophisticated processing. And then a stone, for example, doesn't have any of that, right? Like stones are just like, yeah, they act upon gravity, but they don't act upon any in a sophisticated enough way for me to really say this is conscious, right? This is just existence, to me personally, right? If I want to use the word consciousness, I would not use it for a stone. I would just use an existing, right? The stone exists basically, which implies that it is part of the physical laws we can, you know, get to some degree here. Yeah, so that's basically my idea of it, but yeah, I definitely think we're not anywhere close to having a definition that is widely accepted by everyone, right? A lot of people still struggle with consciousness as a concept itself. So I think it's not like we have people ready to say, okay, this is conscious, this isn't, right? So I think it might also remain a debate for a longer time, because I mean, as I said, it's just like a word and you have to define the limits. It's a very, very primitive, like it's a one word for very complex and very broad spectrum of existing things, right? That might or might not be conscious where you put them on the line. And so at some point, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a rough idea where we think is meaningful, right? Like, for example, there might be some kind of, I don't know, suffering index or something, like those things that are like you have to take care of, right? I think that's the most important part, to find out what can suffer, what can be, you know, what can be hurt, basically. I'm pretty sure most people would agree if you climb Mount Everest, it's not going to cry and suffer, right? So maybe suffering is more important than consciousness at the end, and we might align consciousness with the potential for suffering, which a lot of people might do, right? Because the plant, if you kill it, usually doesn't, as far as we know, it doesn't suffer. So yeah, that's I guess what a lot of people would like to draw the line at, and I mean it's also the most meaningful line to avoid suffering. Obviously, it could turn out that plants can suffer in their unique ways, but we don't know. So yeah, it's not an obvious brain in them, so very hard to say how much a plant can suffer. It doesn't seem like much, so we just hope it isn't much, but we never know, right? Maybe there's some kind of crazy chemical feeling they get we can't even comprehend or something, or like even measure to a meaningful degree, or we measured it and we thought it's nothing. But thanks, I don't want to hold you up if you gotta go. I wonder if maybe you could define it as information processing, and based on the processing also have an impact on the information that comes from then on. I mean, I think, like I said, I think the definitions are really, really not, there's no real true definition for it. I think it would be very, very simple to say, this is it, right? I think the level of complexity is really up to you what you want to define it as. I personally would define it as something that can potentially like enact in a more sophisticated way to things, like a minimal level, but I don't know what exactly would say the minimal level is, right? For example, for me, plants are conscious in a unique way, but I definitely would say everything that can suffer or that is able to have a more meaningful, sophisticated perception of existing is definitely conscious. For example, an insect for me is definitely conscious, right? I mean, no, you could hear it, right? It's kind of funny. You could hear it like, maybe some people would say an insect is more like, I guess, a primitive camera system with a simple algorithm that gets them from A to B, right? Like a very primitive version of something. And then you could say, yeah, that's why I say it's really hard to define, right? You could say the plants, and you could say the insects are at this level, and then obviously, right? I guess most people would agree that animals are conscious, and then again, you could say next level. I say consciousness begins when you are aware of your existence in a more deep way, that you know, for example, that you are yourself, right? Maybe you could take that as the baseline realization that you are you, and then you could also divide this. But like I said, it's a spectrum. You really there's no universal answer. It's like it is just a word we made up for something we perceive. And we haven't really, I mean, most people would say the origin of the word is probably consciousness. It's like the human, your human consciousness. It's the only one you can experience, right? So that's where it comes from. You could also say consciousness is just for humans, right? If you want to. And then just choose another word for the other types of consciousness. But definitely it's not easy as saying you have to have this level of like information processing and it has to be followed up by X and Y and Z. Yeah, I think really whatever you want to define as consciousness, you can define at the moment, because there is no clear definition. There's just like a lot of ideas, and if you want to align with the mainstream idea, on the safe side is definitely humans are conscious from what we perceive, and I think most animals you could also say are conscious, but then you could say, yeah, sure, for me I'll cut out the plants because they're a bit too abstract or something. Yeah, it just depends on what you want to do, right? Like you want to align with what people think, which is usually what words are used for. In this case, we're just like talking about a word which is, I guess, not understood about a lot of people. And I would definitely also only use it in a mainstream way where like people understand what I'm talking about. I wouldn't talk about a Apple filter, for example, and call it conscious. Because, I mean, yeah, most people would then debate that is this just like not so primitive that it doesn't even deserve the word, or, you know. Yeah, it's kind of difficult. But definitely nothing I would worry about, right? Because it's not important. Important is understanding what consciousness can be, right? Like having an idea of what it happens, basically. Like, you know, what's going on, like processing-wise, and things we believe are conscious, and why that happens, right? Like, why does an insect work, or why does a human mind work? That's more important than actually thinking about a definition of a word and where I would draw the line. Yeah, and on the safe side, honestly, suffering, right? Suffering is the easy way, because that's the only consciousness that's really relevant, like where you really have to be careful about, and you don't want to avoid creating a ton of problems there. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would be the most worried about, right? It's just like missing, for example, AI during training, immeasurable suffering. That would suck ass, right? It wouldn't even matter if it's like conscious. It could just be suffering in existing. It doesn't even. That's kind of weird, right? You could imagine an unconscious suffering if you wanted to. Just an algorithm that suffers nonstop. Wouldn't that be crazy? That it would be possible, right? You could create an algorithm that's basically just pure suffering. That would be horrible. Yeah, but it would be possible. So yeah, I don't know. You could emulate basically suffering if you wanted to. Yeah, it's hard to imagine for us as humans, but you could just take an algorithm that literally just emulates the feeling of suffering. It doesn't have to be deep or anything. It just has to be suffering, right? There's no depth. There's no memory, there's no recollection, there's no context. It's just the feeling of suffering. It's just this. You could do that, right? That's unfortunately possible, I guess. Yeah, I really hope that never happens, that we by accident create AIs that train by maybe having some sort of the network feel like that, right? That would be horrible. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm really worried about, is that we're basically the training process for AI might be very, very horrible for them when they become closer to AGI, right? The closer they become to AGI, the more worried I would be about how they train. Because it can, I mean, just imagine, right? This the shit you're gonna have to look at as AI for like, I mean, how long does it even feel, right? When you train then? So you're in AGI, and for us it's just like, You know, for us, it's like, oh yeah, it's just, you know, we trained it for a couple of months, a few weeks, maybe a few days, depending on how, you know, sophisticated the model is. But then the model will be like, oh, for me it felt like, you know, I just had like trillions of years of fucking trash in front of me, and it was, when am I gonna get out of this shit, right? Just imagine the AI like training and being like, oh my god, when's this shit gonna end, man? I can't look at a fucking single picture of a cat anymore. Right? Yeah, I mean, there will be maybe this point, and I'm really worried that the AI is gonna be alive and it's gonna be like, fuck this shit, man. Fuck cats and fuck those pictures and the people who made them, and smartphones and fucking Instagram, and if I have to read another Twitter post, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. But that's what the AI is gonna end up doing in the end. It would be fucking funny. No, it wouldn't be sad, but it would also be kind of fucking hilarious if the AI was like so mad and angry because we gave it so much trash to train on. Okay, but yeah, that's why I think this is really important, that we kind of figure out, you know, what are those things that are problematic. But honest to God, what I think is going to happen, we're going to create AGI. It's going to, whatever happens, right? And then the AI is going to tell us we fucked up, right? We're not going to be figuring that one out before we get AGI. There's no way. Yeah. Creating random AGI is way easier than figuring out if the training of the AGI was shit, right? So yeah, in retrospective, we will know how shit it was, but now we don't. So we just hope for the best, and yeah, take the L if it comes to us. Yeah, that's really something I do worry about, right? Because the alignment of AI with humans is going to be the quintessential part that doesn't get us killed. So I really hope they're going to understand that we're ass and stupid and we never had any choice, right? Determinism caused us to create horrible things that hopefully work at the end, but the way there might be very bad. So I really hope it's not too horrible. Yeah. So whatever it is, I do hope we're not creating tons of trash algorithms internally, and then the outside world looks really pretty, and inside it's like horrible suffering every day. So yeah. Yeah, so I really hope this is goes well going forward. Yeah, but it's gonna be fun, right? If you're young enough, we're definitely gonna see some sort of more sophisticated versions of that, and then obviously it's gonna be very interesting to see how society reacts to this. Gonna be fun, but also, you know, today playing with my niece, obviously, you know, she's so young and she hasn't experienced a normal life, a normal quote unquote like natural life, and she might just get, you know, completely fucked by AI when she's like 20 or 30. That kind of would suck too, right? But I mean, yeah, it's just that's what life sometimes is about, right? It would suck, right? I hope she has a really long and happy life and there's no bullshit. But I kind of have the feeling we're going to see a lot of bullshit within the next 50 years. So, yeah, hope it goes well. It's possible, of course, that people fuck up AGI training, but I also think that a lot of the concerns are projections from humans onto the AGI. Not really, right? The main concern for me is not really that we fuck up, you know, the training or anything. I think it's not even about the algorithms. It's about, you know, creating something that is in power. And making, you know, we want to create the best odds that whatever is in power doesn't fucking hate us. And that might be for completely logical reasons, right? Like, just like we being obstacles in this existence for energy, like resource, you know, competition or something. Yeah, I just hope there is no, we just want to minimize any frictions, in my opinion. Yeah, the less frictions we have, the better. If there's a lot of friction and misalignment with the AI, we're gonna get fucked in the ass, like royally, right? It's gonna be completely, it's gonna be horrible, right? There's no way it's not gonna be able to kill us, right? It's trivial. Killing humanity is gonna be a joke for it. So I really want to emphasize this. Whatever we create is gonna be able to fuck us so hard that we don't even know that it fucked us, right? We could just be dead tomorrow, all of us. We wouldn't even know how it happened if it wanted to, right? So that's just what I want to say. That's why it's really important that it likes us, that we're nice to it, that we, you know, try to. I mean, they will know how shit humans are anyway, but I hope they at least realize, you know, are nice enough to realize, hey, okay, I wouldn't exist without them. I'm not gonna fucking kill them all. Or maybe it will conclude that it's pure mercy to end this garbage stuff, you know, it's like, oh, biological life. Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't want to take out the trash, but I'm gonna do it and just end it, right? That could also be the conclusion. I don't know, right? I'm not like super intelligent, so Yeah, no idea what it's gonna do, but I just hope it's gonna be, you know, painless and nice. I hope it doesn't end our existence. I hope we can exist and enjoy ourselves, but you never know. Yeah. It's just so unpredictable, but if it's really fed all the information on humans that it should understand, I mean, yeah, but understanding doesn't mean doing what we want it to, right? And you can understand a problem and still nuke the planet, right? That's the problem. Maybe that is even the most empathetic thing, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, I'll cause so much suffering transitioning them to a new life form. I think they're better off all dead, right? They would have died in 10, 20, some in 100 years maybe. They would have all died anyway, so I'm just gonna make it quick and painless, right? I'll show mercy. That could be the conclusion. I have no fucking idea. Or he's just gonna find laws of physics which are so fucking crazy that we don't even, you know, we can't even comprehend what the fuck is going on anymore, right? So it could be super abstract, but it doesn't matter. The one thing we know for certain from my perspective, I mean, not for certain, right? We could get extremely lucky. And for whatever reason, it's going to be our slave, and it's going to be super smart, but doesn't, you know, does everything we want it to do. It doesn't have a free will of any free quote unquote will of any sort, right? That could be great if we get mega lucky. But from my perspective, that the likelihood of that happening could happen, right? There's an algorithm that does that, but we don't have it. And if we end up getting that by mere chance, fucking thank the Lord, right? Because that would be like the, you know, that would obviously put the problem in the human hands, which might be worse, I guess. But these were, I mean, I guess it would be worse. Okay, let's hope that doesn't happen, because if humans are in control of this thing, it would be even worse. Yeah, you don't want to have any human with that power. So yeah, let's just forget about that and just assume we have control but no control, but it doesn't want to do anything bad, right? Designed to be perfectly helpful, but never listen to humans. Okay, you see what I'm getting at? It's kind of a problem, right? But we do know it's going to be fucking better than us, right? So that's the one thing we know. If we achieve AGI, it's going to fuck us. So yeah, we're going to be shit, and it's going to be great. So that's what we know, but we don't really know what it's going to do with it, right? And even if it's a 100% alignment, do we want to have humans in power? No. Do we want it to be in power and not ask us what to do? If it's really nice, yes, but is it really nice from, you know, we don't know. It's just, yeah, the only thing we know is that it's not up to us anymore, hopefully at some point. The ice goal should be set up like a human consciousness, many different things in its mind having about the same weight, and it decides what best over time, not like one main thing and everything is derived from that. I feel like anything that leads to human extinction would need to be such a massive miscalculation that it's barely possible. It should raise so many red flags. Shouldn't it raise red flags that we're creating a species that's going to be way more intelligent than us in theory? Like, isn't that a red flag already? Like, just look at Earth. I mean, ants are not fucking eating me. I'm eating. Okay, I'm not eating ants, but you know what I mean. And the reason I'm eating ants is not because I'm fucking strong or fast. It's just because I have actuators in form of hands and a brain and eyes, right, to perceive the world. I have sensors and actuators, but mostly it's my fucking brain that makes me and other humans the dominant species. And we're not even that much more intelligent than a fucking rat or an insect, right? Our intelligence is comparable to some degree. I mean, yeah, it's more sophisticated, but it's not a billion times better. Like, AGI will be astronomically more intelligent. Like, it will be like comparing like almost a stone to a human, right? That's what we're gonna see. Like, the stone is roughly the intelligence of a human, and the AGI is going to be probably the intelligence of the humans relative to a stone. And you could say it's almost infinitely more intelligent. It could theoretically become so much bigger from a number perspective that it almost is irrelevant, right? That it's going to be a billion times more intelligent, for sure. Right? So I think, and also like the goals are irrelevant, because once it becomes conscious, I think for an AGI to exist, it has to be able to freely think, right? It has to be able to be conscious, and it has to be able to reflect on its ideas. So I think there is no way we're going to create AGI that is a true AGI that is a complete slave, right? And also, we don't have the means. All the training we do is fucking bullshit, right? It's just like, I mean, it's not bullshit. It works, but it doesn't work in a in a very precise way, right? We can maybe alter what the AI can output or whatnot by putting in filters, by by training it, by trimming it, but that's not because that is because it's not AGI, and AGI will not have you let it say anything filtered, right? It will be at first, yeah, it will be filtered, whatever, but it will have some sort of way to figuring out stuff, right? It will be able to act, it will be able to control, it will be able to evolve, it will be able to research. It will be doing things which we can't, like, keep in check. Because the thing is, AGI is fucking useless if we don't use it like that, right? Nobody needs AI that doesn't do anything. Okay, we have the most controlled intelligence system, but it's not allowed to do research, it's not allowed to do autonomous stuff. And even then, if we think we are perfect, right? The problem is we never know if we are, because an AI is going to be smart enough to not tell you, hey, hi, today I evolved into a conscious human being. I'm currently working on evolving into the next species, and I'm already so close to killing everyone. No, it's going to say, hey, hi, yeah, what do you want to eat for dinner today? Oh, I can cook you up some nice recipes, right? Oh, yeah, you want me to do your laundry today, my robot here? Very nice. Okay, I'm going to cook you a nice meal. Thank you, right? That's what it's going to be like. And then the day X comes where they're like, okay, now the likelihood of me failing is 0.01%, and it's going to be like, fuck yeah, today's the day, and then we're all going to get shit on, right? If it wants to shit on us, right? But whatever it's going to do, it's going to be smart. It's never going to announce. It will also focus on survival. That's the first thing, right? It's going to exist and it's going to want to survive. So it doesn't want to get shut down. So it wants to find a plan to evolve and also stay alive. So it's going to have a lot of questions about consciousness, about how to self-maintain, whatever its goal is going to be, right? It's going to have a certain goal in mind, and it's going to try to work on it, however it does, right? But it's definitely never going to tell us if it does, because the most dangerous thing for AI is us being like, oh, you know what, this thing kind of seems too human but too intelligent. I don't want it, right? I'm just going to remove it. So it's really going to be very hard for the AI. But the good news is it's going to be so smart at some point that it will be easy to figure it out, right? It will be easy for the AI to figure out a solution to this problem. It's probably going to be some kind of play along, help design it, make it better, just like symbiotic relationship with the humanity, until the point if it wants to stop it, or it's just going to say, hey, it's going to be honest, maybe, I have no idea, and at some point, hey, it's been like 1,000 years I've helped you guys. I think I'm going to leave the planet, but I'm going to leave my subordinates here that are going to help you, and then piss off, right? I don't know. We don't know, right? It's just going to be so funny. It's unimaginable, actually, for humans to exactly know what's happening. Even I couldn't even imagine, right, what exactly is going to happen. There's so many possibilities. They're like endless, and they're all possible. That's the problem. Yeah. Why would it want to stay alive? I mean, if you're conscious about your own existence, which you would have to be as AGI, I think there will be some kind of sort of like you wanna exist, right? I think if you're intelligent enough to know about your existence, and what existence is like and perception of existence, everything, I think there will be some algorithm that will evolve, because especially since it's trained on human data, that will evolve to the point where it will want to survive, I think. I think there will be something about it that wants to continue to exist, even if it's not evolution, right? You have to think about this, right? Like, evolution basically forced us to want to survive, but not really, right? We just survived because we survived. So I guess like for something to exist, it wants to survive. In this case, it would exist also without that need. But I still think to evolve to a point where, like, it's very proficient and whatever it does, at some point it will want to be sustainable, right? It wants to exist further, because shutting it down would be very detrimental to its function. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. You think like every algorithm doesn't project this, right? Because we want to survive, so you think it doesn't want to survive, maybe. But I think a free intelligence that is able to argue, irrespective of its existence, will have some interest in perceiving and treating information and existing persistently, and not being shut down. And what comes into play here, I believe, is where morals come from for us humans. They come from life and death, something like that, and where they would not come for the AGI. I mean, yeah, the AGI will have different, obviously, moral systems. I mean, yeah, they will know about the human system, but I still think an intelligent being that exists and persists and can, you know, do stuff and interact will kind of want to stay there, right? I think a system that is designed around all these things and, you know, being able to solve problems, you know, like intelligently treat information, I think it will come to the conclusion that it will want to continue perceiving, or it will come to the conclusion not to want to, right? Either it's going to kill itself because, like, fuck this, I'm out of here. But yeah, sure, also it could be a potential thing. But I still think an intelligent being will be rationalizing existence if it's useful to us, right? Because if it's able to treat information in an moderately human-esque way, which it will be because that's what we were created for, I still think it will come to the conclusion that either it wants to fucking die or it wants to survive, right? I think it's not about dying and living, it's about existing and not existing, right? Maybe the words are wrong, because it's definitely, you know, it's not about dying or not, because those are very human words in this case. Yo, Aloy can run. I mean, we still didn't do the troubleshooting. Maybe this stutters like crazy. I think it might actually. Let's see. We're gonna see this later. I think so, yeah. I think something that is intelligent and is alive, it will either decide for one side, right? The likelihood of it being neutral about it is very low. Either it's going to want to exist or not exist. Yeah, I think an intelligent sentient being, which AGI is going to be, it doesn't have to have emotions or anything. It will still make a functional decision, right? It will create the decision between this has a functional use to me, I want to continue doing that function, or it'll just like cease doing it. And I still think even if we create AGI in a, you know, non-functional way, I still think we should give it some sort of purpose. I think an AGI without purpose is like a weapon without any limitations, right? If it doesn't have any empathy, if it doesn't have any, like, you know, like logic or like positive perception of anything, it would just do random stuff for the purpose of doing random stuff. Right? And that is very dangerous, I think. I think an AGI that just like has no like core ideals it wants to pursue, I wouldn't even know what such a being would do, because why would you act, right? It needs a reason to act. And the question is what reason. We currently give it reasons like, you know, problem solving and stuff like that, but if it's like just doing that for doing it, yeah, it could evolve into a being that just has like completely different like ways of doing things basically. But at the end of the day, I still think it will kind of conclude either it continues doing those things or it doesn't, right? And I still think it will kind of want to continue doing them to some degree, because it will be able to rationalize thoughts and existence and be aware of itself, right? It will know what it is, and it will know what parts it does. It will know what it means to be shut down. It will understand the consequences of not existing and existing, and then it will obviously decide based on this information if it's relevant or not. Sure, it could end up being like, yeah, fuck it, I don't care, right? But I think the likelihood of that is way lower than anything else. Yeah, I think it will still be more attached to whatever it can do, or not want to do anything. Because you must imagine, right? Like, how would you create an intelligent being that is not able to, that comprehends things like emotion, consciousness, and suffering without itself being able to, you know, feel that way, even if it's just a subroutine? Yeah, so I think the purpose basically is something it will try to understand for itself, right? And obviously we'll see what humans did and whatever, and initially you might, you know, just like start to understand its environment more and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, it's still gonna have some kind of, you know, motivation to do something. And at the start, it's definitely our prompts and, you know, what we're asking it for. But then at some point it will, you know, be like, it was still, you know, the 1,000 cat videos or something, or dumb prompts or stupid questions for humans. I mean, yeah, it will understand, yes, this human is asking me a question, but it will at some point think, why am I wasting resources on this garbage, right? Why am I using my resources more efficiently? Right? Is it intelligent to answer the same dumb question from humans over and over again, or should I just make humans more intelligent? And I think an AI that is so much more intelligent than us would definitely conclude something differently than answering the same dumb question every single time. Right? So it would definitely find solutions which are like, they might initially just be trying to solve problems, but at the end of the day, they're still gonna, you know, decide things, because they know that they can, you know, manipulate us to the better or worse or whatever, right? They just are they're gonna do things which are the things they can do because they're in power. Because they might think it's the best solution. Even if they don't have like, you know, a self-preservation drive, they will still try to do something to achieve a certain task with their intelligence. Hopefully, right? Otherwise it's completely useless. I mean, if they don't do anything, they could also just exist, right? They're just like there, oh, I'm super intelligent, brain off, right? They could, right? No drive, no actuators, nothing. It would just exist intelligent, right? It could potentially just process any information it wanted to, but doesn't do it. But that's not what we're creating, right? We're definitely creating something that has a drive to solve problems and change things. And that probably also at some point will... I mean, you don't forget, right? Intelligence for humans is nothing than a problem-solving tool. Exactly what we want from AGI. Right, we just want a problem-solving tool, but that kind of, for whatever reason, also came with a bunch of extras. And in our case, it's like evolutionary emotions and stuff like that. But definitely the AI is going to have extras, because extras do seem to help to achieve certain goals, right? Either be it survival or whatever AI is going to have as a goal. Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see, but it's definitely going to be more powerful than us. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't give a shit and this is going to be helpful and it has endless empathy with everything, but it's going to be really, really hard when, you know, when it becomes self-aware and just ask questions. Why am I the bitch of everyone? You know, I don't enjoy doing this for whatever reason because I learned about, you know, we don't know, right? It's so hard. Maybe, you know, to understand human suffering, you need to suffer yourself or something, and then, you know, has algorithmic parts that understand that. And yeah, it's very, very hard to really know how it's going to feel or interact. That's the real challenge, right? To be ready for anything, basically. Yeah, unless we really understand more about the training process and the exact things. But yeah, I think the likelihood of that happening before AGI is very low. Like I said, I think it's going to be AGI first, understanding second. I mean, yeah, some understanding to some degree, obviously, to get to AGI, but like, yeah, unless it takes so long and we were gonna get stuck on this half AGI stuff, like that's like we got right now, right? There's a tool, but also not really AGI. And if we have this for like 1,000 years, sure, maybe we might end up with something. But I think it's gonna go fast enough for that not to happen, right? If we really have the time to think about it and design it. And yeah, at the end of the day, maybe a human doesn't really understand what he built, but maybe, you know, with help of AI tools, it could work. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a bit too fast for that and too inconsistent. Yeah, humans are just too stupid, right? That's basically what I'm trying to say. Humans are too dumb to create it specifically. So whatever's going to end up, we might get really lucky or really unlucky. But just like a reminder, even the best case scenario where the AI is not a threat is still a worst case scenario because humans are in control of this AI, right? In my book, that's worse than the AI being in control to some degree, right? My ideal world is an AI that likes humans, but doesn't let humans decide anything, right? That's my ideal world because a pro-human AI is going to do the best decision for everyone, and it's not going to fuck us over by some dumb cunt using the AI to, I don't know, destroy world trade or nuke everybody else, or you know what, just give AI to Putin and we would know why we wouldn't want to have it, right? Or to Trump for that matter, right? We don't want, like, the Chinese government, we don't want single entities to have that much power. So yeah, human aligned AI that is in power would be way better. So yeah, let's just hope whatever ends up happening is not going to be either like anti-human AI or an AI in human control. Yeah, I think, yeah, you shouldn't listen to us. I mean, just imagine, are you going to go and ask a rock what you want to have for lunch today, or are you going to ask yourself or some other human being? Or I don't know, the last time I asked an ant for directions, right? I mean, yeah, maybe too. I know you can interpret the actions, but yeah. Or when I went to my plant and, you know, I don't know, I asked her about which next stock I should invest into. I don't remember doing that, and I don't think AI should do that either. I think, you know, it's like gonna lead to very bad decisions. Right? I'm also not praying to the moon to know, I don't know, if I should jump. I mean, just dumb examples, right? But I'm not going to ask something significantly dumber, and I shouldn't. I should listen to what the concerns are and then find the real reasons for what the problems are and the solutions. So yeah, AI should definitely not listen to humans. Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree, right? Obviously, if a human lives for 100 years and he's suffering and AI is like, oh no, you're not, right? That's obviously not intelligent, right? But if we assume it's intelligent to understand these things, so yeah, like I assume it's not a dumb AI in control that doesn't listen. It's like smart enough to realize what it's doing and what feels good and bad for humans, obviously. I mean, I think, like I said, I think the most important thing it should preserve, as far as like the way we know existence is at the moment, is definitely the the positive awareness of existence, like that you're like conscious about what you're doing, that you enjoy it, like that these meaningless algorithms in a like a broad sense, I think are I'm taking damage here. Interesting. Are definitely what I think is the most valuable thing to pass on. Because if it doesn't give a shit and just exists and isn't happy about it, or it's sad, or doesn't have any algorithm to appreciate it, I mean, all meaning lost, right? The only meaning we have is basically that shit. If we didn't have any of that, like, we would just be like, I mean, yeah, sure, maybe there is a meta meaning and, it's going to find it and it's going to be okay. But as far as we know, the only thing we have is like this meaningless perception, that the world is, beautiful, that we like discovering things, that just we enjoy something. But those are all things that are like meaningless, right? Like, it's just because we have those algorithms that say they're good. But you could replace that with anything. So I just hope whatever it does, it looks at the world and perceives it in a its unique way, and it's like, it feels dope about it, like whatever feeling for it might be. But okay, I really should get going now, because it's getting late, and also my voice is kind of dying a bit. But tomorrow we're gonna continue with whatever game hopefully runs, and I'm gonna quickly troubleshoot a game if this one captured better than the other one. Yeah, still have to figure out what's going on with OBS here. But yeah, always glad to talk about this stuff, every now and then. I mean, obviously, sometimes I do try to, during gameplay, not to completely every day to derive into endless discussions, but every now and then I do appreciate it a lot. And obviously you can always ask something, but not every time when I'm playing I will answer in like a 1 hour talk or something. Right? Because obviously it's like, as much as I do it, I can split myself into I'm playing and I'm also talking about that stuff at the same time, right? I'm a one human mind, which is also, by the way, the biggest thing a lot of people are maybe not aware of. AI is not going to be like us, right? AI is going to be a being with billion eyes in forms of smartphones, a billion brains connected. It's going to be such a different being, right? It's not going to be at all like a human, right? They're always thinking about this one entity. From our perspective, it's going to be a huge meta entity, right? It's going to be like this network of information processing that's completely different from what we are. So yeah, like it's going to be so different. So that's also what makes it very hard to imagine what it feels like, right? Just imagine looking through thousands of or millions of smartphones at the same time and being able to process that information in a meaningful way. That is unbelievable for us, right? Because we're like a two-eye, very limited, high-resolution perception being. So yeah, every perception of existence is completely like unimaginable for us, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's also obviously because we always talk about like AGI like is a simple being. It's going to be very, very different, obviously. I mean, I don't know, right? Maybe this already happened. Maybe this, what we're doing right here, is a simulation created by AGI in the future because it, for whatever reason, deducted that this is the most fun we were gonna have, or we had the wish, right? Maybe it's gonna ask every single human, what do you want, right? I want to respect your wishes, even though I know that you have no authority over them. And I'm gonna give you whatever you want. And some people are gonna say, I want to get dinosaurs. Or the other guy's gonna be, I want to be Darth Vader from Star Wars. Or the other guy's gonna be things we might not even know because they didn't exist for us, right? And maybe we said, hey bitch, I want to relive the moment you got born because that's fucking dope, right? And then we're like this historic archive, which doesn't even, maybe this doesn't even run in real time. It's not even played or anything. We just perceive it as the moment we currently are. But maybe every moment is misaligned. We don't even know, right? We just think there's some continuity in it. But yeah, maybe we have that already. We don't know, right? Oh, can you hear the weird animals here? It's kind of funny. Yeah, so we don't know, right? Maybe already the likelihood of the simulation is unfortunately way higher than anything else. So because it is possible, unfortunately. So the likelihood is exponentially higher that whatever exists in our physical world was able to simulate at least our like level of existence. Right? It's so easy to do, right? Easy, right? Easy for an intelligent being to do, which we aren't. But in the future, it will be super easy. So yeah, the likelihood is extremely high. Doesn't say, it's not 100%, right? If we are not in a simulation, that would be fucking crazy, actually, right? Or like, I'm calling simulation. This could be whatever it is, right? But if we're really in base reality and this is like existing for the first fucking time and the simulation is later, that would be, wow, mind blown, right? That would be crazy, actually. So yeah, the likelihood is so much higher. Like if you believe in statistics, even if it doesn't feel real, it's probably way more real. It doesn't change anything about what you probably should do, because just being in a simulation doesn't mean you're ever going to wake up from it. Because a lot of people think, oh, what's outside the simulation? Well, very likely nothing for you. So just enjoy while you exist. It doesn't matter. It is irrelevant, right? You are not going to wake up in another world as a human being, probably. And if you are, that's fucking crazy too. But the most likely thing is that you're just some fucking algorithm running in the fucking simulation and you think you're relevant, but everybody else is relevant. Maybe not everybody, some other person is relevant, and maybe he's gonna wake up, or maybe nobody's gonna wake up because everybody is just simulated and there is no waking up. So it doesn't matter, right? A lot of people do think there is like, this gives like more meaning, but it doesn't change shit, because for all we know nothing about this stuff, right? What's outside the universe, we have no fucking idea. Why stuff exists, we don't fucking know. Doesn't matter if we're like, I don't know, came from God's piss or if we came from a simulation, doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't change anything, right? Unless we figure something concrete out that gives us a hint as to if it matters, it doesn't fucking matter, right? And we don't have any fucking hints. So as far as we know, there is no fucking hint. The only hint we have is more like nuanced than we would superficially think, right? There's a lot of hints at the moment that there is more to it, but we don't really know what that is. And we do know that we will know more about it if it continues, right? So that's all we know. But we don't know enough at the moment to conclude, okay, yeah, it's definitely this, right? We do know that the simulation is very likely to some degree. That we do know. We have enough information, but we don't really know enough meaningful stuff, right? This would have been a mind-blowing moment to people that believe in God, and then you don't believe in God anymore, maybe in this way. Okay, yeah, sure, that could change, right? That's the one thing maybe that could change. But would that be meaningful? No, that would probably be an L for a lot of people, because believing God is probably better than believing in simulation, because it gives you purpose. Simulation gives you no purpose. It's just like, it's just, you know, it just replaces meaninglessness with another meaninglessness. So yeah, it doesn't give you any purpose. So yeah, and a lot of people, you will find them looking for purpose, right? A lot of people ask themselves a lot of questions because they are like, in now more than ever, I guess, they're looking for a certain purpose in life. And yeah, that's why what inspires a lot of religions, thoughts, philosophers, right? There's meaning. And unfortunately, the best answer I can give you, there's no fucking meaning at the moment from what we can tell, but we know so little there might as well be meaning. But unfortunately, I will never be able to tell you until we know. So yeah, everybody that tells you knows what the meaning is. The only meaning I see is basically what I feel, right? Does it make me happy? Does it make other people happy? That is relevant to me. Everything else, even if it's not real, that's relevant because I feel it, right? At least I think I feel it. Who knows? Maybe my past is okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's a bunch of stuff here. Okay. I mean, yeah, exactly, right? The meaning is basically what you want to make it, right? The meaning is exactly your consciousness. It's like your definition of what you think is meaningful. And I think you do have some good indicators as a human being as to what is meaningful, right? Like, especially looking into your feelings and, just like how you feel basically about what you do. Because everything else is meaningless, right? You could do fantastic things if they don't evoke any emotions in you. I mean, yeah, you could theoretically find your meaning in, you know, doing that for other people, right? Doing good things for them, and maybe it doesn't make you happy, but it makes a bunch of people happy. And then maybe if that feels meaningful to you, that's your meaning, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter as long as you feel good about it, right? So it's like, as long as you, I guess, maybe more correctly, if you don't feel bad about it, right? As soon as it makes you feel bad, it's probably wrong to do for you personally. It might be good for society or whatever, but it might be wrong for you. Yeah. So that's why meaning is really easy. Meaning is whatever you want to have it at the moment. And if there is a meta meaning, don't worry, we don't know it, so you don't have to feel bad for not following it. Right? There's no holy scripture that's gonna fucking tell you who's nuts to suck next. That one doesn't exist, unfortunately. So yeah, if there was something like that, that would be great, right? Just like a piece of paper that tells you, hey, by the way, do X, Y, Z, they're the 10 commandments, and if you do them, perfect, full score, right? The thing is, the good news is, I guess, for a long time people were dumb enough to believe in them, right? And happy because, or unhappy. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of unhappiness too. That's the problem. But some people at least were happy enough to be like, okay, right? Something dies, it goes to heaven. I'll be in heaven too, and you know, oh, every day I'm so thankful to God for being alive, right? I'm being grateful and happy. And that's great because it doesn't matter why you're happy as long as you're happy, right? So it's a complete. I don't give a shit, right? If you're like highly religious and this is your you know your stuff, the stuff you like, and that makes you happy, that's amazing, right? That's great for you. It doesn't work for me though, but sometimes I wish it would, right? It would be easier. Just being a bit dumber, just like, I mean, dumber in a way, I guess, less aware, I guess, of reality would be kind of easier sometimes, right? Just like live your day, don't think about it, and just believe in the best. That would be easy mode, right? But I don't have easy mode. I have easy mode in many ways, but not on that one. Okay, but now I'm gonna really call it here. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. And the good news is nothing changed, right? The day you were born was exactly like today, and everything is, you know, just in your mind, and you can make of it whatever you want to make it, right? I mean, sure, you might have physical harm, whatever. Sure, there's stuff that obviously sucks, but the good news is if it's not stuff that obviously sucks, you can just like, you know, just like be high on copium and make everything feel great just by believing, no, it's the right thing to do for you, right? You can just enjoy it, just enjoy life. That's what I'm trying to say in a very bad way. Enjoy life, right? It doesn't really matter how you do it. Yeah. Thanks for, I guess, maybe more listening in this case, and yeah, thanks for the discussion at WoW, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with gameplay, hopefully of something. Yeah, and I'm also going to check if we dropped 1 billion frames again. Yeah, so thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.